right, everybody. I would like to welcome everyone to the Board of Education here at the South Junior High. Today's date is the 14th of April, and we are about to get underway here. Everything seems to quiet down. It is 6:30 p.m., and this thing should be getting started any minute now. So, enjoy. And here we go, and we're going to get started as soon as they get going over here. I'm just going to aim it straight at the board and wait for them to get going.
With that being said, we do have all members present, and that's going to move us to item C of our agenda, which is approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Item D is the approval of the consent agenda. I don't think there's anything on this that's been added since our workshop.
There's one item.
Okay.
The field trips. If you remember, last month I took the field trips off because I wanted to check on the transportation. We were taking a bus to Panama City. There's some concern about our buses going out of state, and we just wanted to make sure we were consistent with that. Since then, they've decided it's the Huntland cheers squad, and they are going to have, the parents are going to go with them, and so they're going to transport the students rather than taking a bus. They didn't have enough interest in the bus, so that was one thing that's been added back on.
Like everything else we discussed in the workshop.
Yes.
So the chair entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion on any of the items? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. That brings us to item E, the director's report.
First, obviously, we're visiting with South Middle School. We appreciate them hosting us this evening. We delayed a month, and so I'm glad we're able to be here tonight. I've asked the principal, Mr. Crutchfield, if he would like to say a few words to share with us.
Thank you all for coming out to South Middle School tonight and joining us for this meeting. School board, thank you for choosing to come to South. Our doors are always open to you. Thank you.
And then the financial reports, Ms. Latham was not able to join us tonight. She had a family medical situation, so she was not able to be here. But in reviewing these with her, she said there was no concerns or anything that was outstanding with either the monthly financial report and also for the expenditures for March as well. But I'll answer any questions that you may have on those. We look like we're tracking about where we need to be at this point in the year on our budget.
Are they still planning for the budgets around like June and July like normal?
Yes, ma'am. The budget committee, or the finance committee, will be meeting May the 17th and 19th to go over the departmental budgets. But I did remind them that the school budget will not be reviewed until June, so they'll have a special session for just the school budget at that time.
In June?
Correct. The last item there then is the employee reception. Just wanted to remind you that we will host that May the 3rd. That will be at the Franklin County High School cafeteria. We're going to serve a meal for the teachers and have entertainment, live entertainment. So we'd like for all of you to join us for that evening. And it starts at 4:30. 4 o'clock, I'm sorry, 4 o'clock. One other item too for consideration, we met this past week with OLG about the school building program, and they would like to make a presentation to the board at the June work session. So we'd like to hold that session at North Middle so you can ask questions of the architect and the engineer that are looking at the different options that they would like to propose for the committee. If that's okay, we'll plan to do that.
That was the June?
Correct.
June.
That would be June 6th, I think is the date.
When they, do you have any idea on their presentation, or will they be making a recommendation as well?
Well, they're going to present the facts. The committee is meeting 2 or 3 times in May, so the committee will actually make the recommendation to the board of which of those options they think would be the best.
But that time frame, they're going to have something prepared
Yes, sir.
to.
Correct. And that's all I have on my report.
Any questions for Dr. Thomas? Okay, if not, that moves us to item F, old business. Item number 1, FC Schools Closed Organization.
In this revision, the changes that were made from the work session on Monday are listed in red. You'll see those down at the bottom of the first page and about midway down the second page. Those were the only corrections that were made this time.
Mr. Chairman, I feel remiss if I didn't say this, and I have a motion I do want to make concerning this policy and a couple of others. But first, I'd like to say I think this board has been very approachable, very reasonable to new ideas and to new things when we've been approached. But in saying that, I would say everybody's had a civil, professional discussion, I think, among the board members sitting at this table, and I appreciate that out of everybody. But having said that, I feel like I need to say this. No board member deserves to be personally threatened and attacked, maybe or possibly because of a social or political stance they take in their personal lives. With that being said, so everybody knows what I'm talking about receiving emails that say things like this. As you well know, I'm in the business of sticking up for kids, all kids. Some of the tools I use are the rule of law and rules of procedure. this reason, I must raise the following concern. You, as a Franklin County Sheriff's Office deputy supervising SROs, are either in conflict or appear to be in conflict when you take a political stand against a student club whose members have reported numerous bullying-based assaults only to find no law enforcement action taken. Legally, this is called deliberate indifference and makes our county vulnerable to a federal lawsuit. And the particularly insulting part of this is I ask that you rediscover your integrity and resolve your conflicted status by either resigning your political post or requesting that SRO supervision be transferred to another capable officer. Please be advised this communication will also go to Sheriff Floyd, the news media, which is okay because I see Sheriff Floyd pretty often. And I feel like I owe it to the board and I owe it to the public to make a couple of things clear about that. Number one, no one at the Franklin County Sheriff's Office in a supervisory role dictates to a subordinate that they charge or arrest anybody. That is at the discretion of the deputy involved in the case or investigator as it may be. It is their decision, they have discretion, they use their training and their good common sense, which I promise you they have plenty of, and sometimes on advice and legal advice from the district attorney's office. So that's way off base from what we do. And I would also go ahead and say it's somewhat concerning that an organization that prides itself on tolerance, acceptance, and understanding takes such a violent attitude toward people that have a different opinion. The board has been more than approachable and reasonable to new ideas and suggestions. Case in point, we had a young man that came last week and did a magnificent job of trying to persuade us to change some of the dress code. But the biggest issue for approximately the last 3 months has been the creation of the Gay Straight Alliance Club at Franklin County High School. The fact of the matter is this: policing and GSA are actually supported and driven by adult left-wing activists that seem to have only the progression of their political agenda at heart, not the best interests of all students. Members of this board, me in particular, have been targeted and threatened. And I've been tolerant, made every attempt to be civil and professional, but I will not sit out and bow while I'm accosted professionally and personally by a representative of this organization that has different views concerning political and social topics. To threaten my livelihood and therefore threaten the way I provide for my children to have a secure home and to be able to progress to adulthood successfully is not only distasteful, it's the ultimate example of being what we are trying to prevent, and that's a bully. But I'm not in high school, nor am I unsure of my way in life. And for my children, myself, and what I truly believe is the majority of the residents of Franklin County, I will not be browbeaten, threatened, or bullied into compromising my values or belief systems. With that being said, I will make the motion that this board adopt policy 6.702.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt policy 6.702, which is the student clubs and organizations.
I'll second
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt 6.702. No discussion.
I'd like to make a statement. I expressed my views on a particular aspect of this policy at our last board meeting and at our last work session. I don't think anyone present here probably doubts my views on that. I think there's a lot good in this policy. However, there's one particular aspect which prevents me from supporting this policy. I explained my reasons at the last work session last week, and I asked members of the board to consider my viewpoint, my position on it, and my rationale. I also listened to their rationales for creating an opt-in policy. For those of you who aren't familiar with what that opt-in policy means, is that any high school student any secondary school student who wanted to participate in a club or organization would have to get written permission from their parent or legal guardian. That is different from the current policy, which is an opt-out. The opt-out policy is established by Tennessee state law. That law has existed for 3 years. That opt-out policy, that opt-out requirement, again, that is mandated by state law, requires that the school publish a list of clubs and afford parents or legal guardians an opportunity to prohibit their child from participating in any particular activity. I don't believe there's a problem with the opt-out policy. And I believe that the proposed change from an opt-out to an opt-in policy is a flawed attempt to correct a problem that doesn't exist. As board members, as is stated in our board policies, each of us has individually taken on the responsibility to think at all times in terms of children first and to decide all matters of policy, how they affect the education and training of children. The opt-out provision of the proposed policy, however, in my humble opinion, is not in the best interest of children who attend Franklin County schools. Beyond that, I have serious questions about whether it's within our legal authority to adopt this policy. I listened to the arguments presented by my fellow board members at last week's work session. The primary rationales that have been offered in support of this change are that it would reduce the school district's legal exposure in the event that a student was injured during a club meeting or event, and that it is necessary to ensure that parents have a say in deciding the types of activities in which their child participates. Neither of these rationales are supported by the evidence. First, on the question of legal risk, let me make clear that what we are talking about here is not a permission slip to go on a club-related field trip. That's an activity that I believe does warrant securing parental permission. Rather, what we are talking about here is a permission slip to attend a meeting on school grounds either before or after school. When students are on school property, whether it is for a class or to participate in a before or after school activity, a school and its employees have a legal obligation to provide students adequate supervision and to protect the students' health and safety. Under state law, that obligation is the same regardless of whether a student's parents have consented to the student's participation in an extracurricular activity at the school, or whether they have not. Requiring a permission slip does not make students safer, nor does it reduce the school system's legal risk. Second, in terms of parental involvement, as I previously stated, current state law affords an adequate means for parents to control the types of non-curricular activities in which their child participates. Parents are notified of the types of clubs that exist at the school, and they are advised of their right to communicate to their child's school that their child is prohibited from participating in a particular extracurricular activity. Both Franklin County High School and Huntland School comply with this law by notifying parents of this right in the school's student-parent handbooks and by publishing a list of clubs in those handbooks and on the school's websites. I have served on the Franklin County School Board for a little over 18 months. During that time, no parent, teacher, administrator, student, or school board member has suggested to me and to my knowledge to anyone on the school board that these state mandated requirements are inadequate. Likewise, no one has expressed any concern that the county schools were not complying with this law. That is, not until a gay straight alliance was formed by students at Franklin County High School earlier this year. So what is the problem? Why is a policy change necessary? After students formed the GSA at Franklin County High School, a small but very vocal percentage of the community bombarded school board members with emails and letters demanding that the board ban the GSA. This was their right to do that. That right is protected by the First Amendment. Some even went so far as demanding that the board ban any student club from meeting on the school property. Again, that is their First Amendment right to do that. However, the board has not responded to those demands because I believe the members of this board recognize that prohibiting all non-academic clubs would not have been in the students' best interest, and because such action would embroil the school district in a costly federal lawsuit that it was unlikely to win. I don't mean to suggest at all that the members of this board, certainly not the majority of its members of the board, have a principled opposition to the existence of the GSA at Franklin County High School. What I am suggesting, though, do not question this. We would not be talking about this policy but for the formation of the GSA at Franklin County High School. A person's choice to join or associate with a particular organization is a right protected by the First Amendment, and is well established that this right is not just limited to adults, but it is a right afforded to children, especially high school students. And like other constitutional freedoms, children do not leave their rights to freedom of speech at the schoolhouse gate. Rather, students have the right to express their opinions and associate with students who share their viewpoints. And a school may only restrict this right where the expressive activity in question will cause a substantial disruption of or material interference with school activities, or where it will unreasonably impinge or harm the rights of other students, or where the speech is lewd, or where the speech advocates violence or the consumption of illegal drugs. In other words, the school must have a compelling interest to limit student speech. This is not just grounded in the law, not just grounded in our Constitution, but it's grounded in our mission as an educational entity. It's grounded in the role of public schools. A student's exercise of their free speech rights and freedom of association is a critical means by which students can develop and express their identity as young adults and future voters, voting citizens in our democratic form of government. In cases involving a minor's rights, the law looks first to what is in the best interest of a child. In making this determination, a judge usually gives great weight to the minor's view as to what is the best for him or her, but it still weighs that opinion against the views of other actors involved, including child's parents, and where schools are involved, school administrators, and the school board. Parents have a constitutionally protected liberty interest, a right protected under the 14th Amendment, to decide how to raise their children. And in most cases, the law presumes that parents are acting in the children's best interest. Under the law, however, that presumption is rebuttable. And we would be naive to believe that parents always consider or fully understand what is in the best interest of their children. Clearly, the opt-in policy places a parent's constitutional rights at odds with the student's rights under the First Amendment. But what is the school board's interest here? Whatever it is, I submit to you it is not a compelling or an important one. Beyond protecting the rights of others, students, and preventing the substantial disruption of activities, our interest is quite limited. Now, while schools have an interest in teaching values, that interest alone cannot justify limiting a child's First Amendment rights. The U.S. Supreme Court has held that local school boards may not, for example, local school boards may not remove books from school library shelves simply because they dislike the ideas contained in those books and seek by their removal to prescribe what shall be orthodox in politics, nationalism, religion, or other matters of opinion. Removing controversial books delegitimizes minority view values and goals that can conflict with majoritarian community values. A community's desire to protect children from moral danger does not justify reducing children's First Amendment rights. Nonconformity with majority views is not in and of itself a danger. What does this policy do? The proposed policy. The school board cannot limit the speech of students directly. Instead, the proposed policy would enlist parents to do that job. But we can't piggyback on the rights of parents to facilitate something that the school board cannot do itself in the first instance. We cannot limit free speech by simply appealing to the governmental interest in aiding parental authority. Rather, to pass constitutional muster, we must be able to demonstrate the policy promotes a compelling or at least substantial government interest, is not motivated by the intent to suppress speech by the school board or by parents, and is narrowly tailored to promote the government interest. In my view, neither the proposed opt-in policy nor the arguments offered by members of this board satisfy these requirements. For those reasons, I will be voting against this policy.
Any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt this policy. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Yay.
Motion carries. Okay, policy 6.702, club organization criteria. 101.
Administrative procedures, and again, the changes from the work session last week that you all recommended are read in this revised copy.
Mr. Chairman, we had quite a bit of deliberation at the workshop about this policy. As that is, I go ahead and make a motion that this board adopt policy 6.702.1 club organization. I'm sorry.
More of an approval of the language that's in it.
So do we need to vote for approval?
We don't normally on the
Okay.
administrative procedures, so it's just more, are there any other corrections or changes you'd like to see? And the same
Would that be
thing-
the same thing for the application?
It would be, correct.
Okay, that motion has been withdrawn. Is there anything on the organizational criteria for administrative?
One thing kind of nagging, and this came up, I guess, one of the first times we talked about this, is about putting a minimum number on a club. We talk a lot about First Amendment and people's right to express their opinion or how their club is as a student. I'm just asking for the board's opinion. If you have one person that wants to have a club and you have a student that, or a teacher that's willing to be a faculty advisor, can you deny them? And that's more of a legal thing.
I think on things that I have researched on clubs, that there is not a restriction or a limit on the minimum number. I think they can be challenged in in almost every case of study.
I have not, so long as the number is reasonable.
Okay, I just
I
wanted to bring
don't,
that up.
and I think,
let's go that side.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of other policies across the state, across the country that have that, and I haven't seen a case that.
Well, I think you could make an
challenges
argument that Holman and Franklin County High School are large enough that 5 is probably reasonable.
I also want to note that despite my opposition to the policy we just voted on, I want to commend Dr. Loomis for her efforts in preparing the administrative procedure document that's before us. I think there is a lot that is included in this. And while we're not voting on it, I think it helps ensures that all clubs are treated fairly. And I apologize for not saying this earlier. We had a brief discussion at our work session, is what constitutes regular attendance, and one of the changes here is regular attendance is defined as attending a meeting or attending more than 2 times per school year. And as both Mr. Guest and I think, raised at the work session, there's a possibility that you could have someone come in from the outside who is providing, some non-sectarian training, whether that's related to the mission of the club, or presentation. I think Mr. Guest said something about.
Yes, when you say that, I think about guest speaker.
Yeah.
Or trainer.
Yes, and so I think 2 times per school year, it may be, is probably too restrictive. And I think one of the things that we had discussed was that there would be some discretion that could be exercised in instances where there was some type of approved.
When I was doing this, I put in a line and then took it back out, but it'd be easy to put in that, however, you can submit to the administration for an exception to this if there are extenuating circumstances.
I would be comfortable with that
Okay.
being inserted.
Okay.
You did pick that up. Oh, I just said I would be comfortable with that being inserted. Oh, what she said was that, could you rephrase it?
Go back and repeat what I just said.
Yeah.
However, the faculty advisor can make an appeal to the school administration for a waiver for that if there's extenuating circumstances, something along those lines. Verbiage.
Anybody have an issue with that verbiage?
We're going to stay with the 5 students membership.
I think the intent there is just to make sure we don't have hundreds of clubs formed just because you have one entrance.
The club is for the students. Formatting, you very well say you have a criminal justice club if you want to have the juvenile judge, a circuit judge, a defense attorney, and a prosecutor. Those kind of things to me are not only reasonable, but almost really expected. Like guest speaker and 10, 15, 20 more people, a couple times a month, I think that's getting away from probably what we're trying to do. I'd like to also, before we move on, thank the board. I think it's good we have these discussions because if this has done nothing else, it's probably made us be more organized and have better continuity about what we're doing with our operation. And I think that's not anything to make things better and more efficient.
I have a question here. Regular attendance is defined as attending a meeting or activity more than 2 times per school year. Are we saying there can only be 2 non-members attend, or does that mean any one person is a limit of 2?
Any one person has a limit of 2.
I think that was
unless
so
they
Whereas
ask
in your
for.
case, if you had different judges for criminal justice coming, that would preclude. That would get around, this would satisfy that.
Well, and what I'm driving at with what I just said is, I think what that's looking at is not having, let's say you have a guest speaker every month. I can see that. I can't see a guest speaker of 40 or 50 visitors. You see what I'm saying?
I think what we're trying to get away from is having the same person come in time after time after time.
Yes.
Anything else on that administrative procedure? If not, I see no point in bringing that back. Yeah, the application, I think this is the first time we've seen this, if I'm not mistaken.
This was the sixth revision. I did not share it every time.
Okay.
It's based on the policy, so I was kind of waiting till we were a little more solid on the policy verbiage to get that to you. But that has the 5 student members that have to sign and submit through the sponsor or the advisor, faculty advisor.
And again, this is just the application when they, for a proposed new club.
Correct, yes.
Any input on there?
I wonder if we need a line that says, will the club or organization need to be monetarily supported? I wonder if we need one that addresses potential travel for club.
I mean, like field trips or,
Field trips or off-campus activities.
What you're thinking there? I mean, you're just saying is to let
So
they know up front
So
that
the administrator knows up front, this club is going to be twice a month, and they plan 2 trips to Nashville and a car wash in May or whatever.
That's probably important too for the parent. To know,
It is.
I might have to.
Do you think that's something they're gonna know?
there is a line down on the bottom of that first page that says proposed activities or events. Maybe I could just add to that, field trips and off-campus events.
If not,
Oh, no, at that time, okay.
Knowing that that can be added to the
Sure.
well, you're still going to have to get those things for the meeting.
Does, I don't know this, but does the board policy governing field trips, does that particularly reference field trips by extracurricular activities? If not, it might be something.
I think it's anything that is an organized trip, a student or a school related, requires that they go through the board policy.
Okay.
But I'm not sure on the exact language. I can take a look at that though.
Are you talking about getting permissions at the time?
I think Adam's saying, taking care of
I
that.
mean, I think for, you know, if a group of students is going off campus, whether they're being accompanied by a school employee, whether that's on the school bus or whether that's in their own cars or what have you, then that, I can understand the reason for having permission slip. And that, I think, without looking at the policy, my general impression
4.302. I don't see that it's specific, I mean, it just talks about the requesting teacher has to get approval.
So that would be the club's faculty advisor?
Correct.
Okay.
So I'm assuming they would fall under that as well.
I just think consistency, I
Right.
think is appropriate there.
Any other input on the application? You're good with those, with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll make that.
Okay, that brings us to item 2. Policy 6.310, dress code, middle school and high school. This one, we had a young man speak before us last Last Monday night at the work session.
Paul is here tonight. If you have any questions.
Okay.
He's in the audience over here. Incorporating the recommendations that Paul McCray made last week and the discussion that happened in the work session, I've added language into the dress code policy. Again, this is first draft. So I did on Thursday talk with the principals about this, the middle and the high school principals as well, to get their inputs and thoughts on this. And they were in agreement with the same things that you had discussed on Monday night with the clothing, types of clothing that would be allowed, and then the colored shirts or patterned shirts would be okay as well.
I will say that even since we started talking about this Monday, I know we've had at least one email from a parent/teacher that has concern with the shorts. There's no issue with the, and I think everything was welcome as far as the going away from the solids to the. One of the things that I would, and I know we've talked to the administration, but I think it would behoove us to get the input of the teachers.
Okay. We can do that very easily. This actually doesn't come up for review till May timeframe anyway, so we have some time. But we can use our Google Forms and do a quick survey and just get some input from the secondary teachers as well. And I can get that information to you all then before the May work session.
I think one of the same parent/teacher that Mr. Carolyn just referenced also noted a concern that if we're allowing plaid shirts, but we allow plaid skirts. And I think that seems very reasonable. One thing that I would like to see addressed here is what constitutes spirit wear.
Can I ask one question before you go on, Mr. Tucker? So you're saying that the pants can be patterned, because if we're talking like the capris come in pattern colors, so you're saying any pattern or is okay in shorts and or the skirts and in the pants? So right now we're saying khaki and jeans. That's the only two approved.
Again,
I mean, I'm just asking for clarification.
I just got back from Augusta. And ever seen John Daly's pants?
yes.
Pattern would be okay.
Patterns can get out there
That's
too.
what
Well,
I want to be sure I'm clear.
I'm just communicating, it's not a deal breaker one way or the other for me, but I just wanted to raise that teacher parent
Okay.
had made that.
Okay. We may include that in this survey again as well to get some here, or additional teacher feedback on that one.
That was, I think it would be useful to have some definition of what constitutes spirit wear. I think there's kind of is it simply a t-shirt that says South Middle School on it, or are you allowed to have designs on it, or, if you're on the football team, participant in a particular club, is that constitute spirit wear? It's just vague, and I think the policy would benefit from making that more clear. The spirit wear starts at line 17 and continues on to 18. And I think I've looked through this policy a couple times, and I think that's the only reference to spirit wear.
I think the policy must be enforceable. Must be plain enough that it can be enforced.
Under number 1 of that policy, there is additional information there. It says the only logos allowed are the 2-inch logo on shirts or logos on spirit wear. So that would have to be addressed if you're talking about changing.
Yes. Yes, thank
That's
you.
where it's a little more defined.
Is that something that, can we talk to the principals, or can you get that in?
The principals were in favor of keeping the 2-inch logo.
Okay.
They feel like that we could maybe stretch it a little bit for size, just because 2 inches is fairly long. But they still liked that kind of a stipulation on the sides of the logo.
Well, where I was going with that too, though, is with the middle school and high school principals today, how do they define spirit wear?
Okay.
What are we doing today that
Sure.
defines spirit wear? Because I don't know that we know that other than this 2x2 or 2-inch logo.
What kind of feedback did you get from the principals concerning wearing only khaki or jeans?
That was their idea, mainly because they did not want to get into the knit, like basketball shorts, and they felt like by limiting it to either khakis or jeans, that would stipulate the type of shorts that would be approved.
Just wondered what they said.
Yeah. And I did learn a new word, jeggings. Don't know what jeggings are. It's jeans that are leggings. So that's actually in the policy now.
But do you think if you allow plaid skirts, that somebody might wear plaid pants?
Yeah, I think that's
I
what.
think that's why you're kind of opening
I
that.
had difficulty hearing that in.
I'm sorry, I'll speak a little louder.
You all said plaid skirts as well.
There was a mention of plaid skirts.
In the uniform.
Right.
So
Yes, makes sense.
On that note, if you could all speak a
No,
little louder.
no,
'cause-
you're not part of this discussion.
Okay, I mean, I just can barely hear any of that.
I can share the audio with you.
Huh.
So I'll make some additional changes and bring this back in May, the work session. And I'll get, like I said, I'll do a survey and get some data collected from the teachers as well on that for their input.
Is there anything else you would like Dr. Bonus to bring forward, define or get information on?
I would like Dr. Lotus to consult with legal counsel on the line that begins line 8 and goes, I believe, line 9. In matters of opinion, the judgment of the principal / designee shall prevail. I want to make sure that when we're talking about opinion, that we are talking about whether pants are khaki or denim, whether the shirt is collared, whether it, whether it's a shirt that does not cover the abdomen, or the pants are too short or too short, and that we're not talking there about in matters of political opinion or religious opinion, the judgment of the principal designee shall prevail. And I think the way that sentence is worded right now is ambiguous, and I think it would benefit from clarification.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else for Dr. Bonus to try to bring back for this policy in talking with the administrator?
we vote to approve this next time.
Okay, so you'll bring that back in May.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions on the dress code or comments? Okay, that'll move us to, I actually think, and I'll let Dr. Lonis address this, but I think policy, items 3, 4, and 5, we're not quite,
No, I'm still getting legal review of some language there that I would like to see incorporated, and also still reviewing some other counties' policies to make sure that we're sort of similar in the things that we're setting for these expectations, so I'll have more, hope to get that to you before the work session, so you'll have a chance to review it prior to the May. Okay.
So really, at this point, there's nothing for us to discuss on any of these three. Unless somebody has some input on, if they know changes that they want to propose that we can work in. That's item 3, 4, and 5. Any comments or suggestions on those before she? Okay, if not, is there any new business that we can talk about? If not, we will have a work session in May. Again, the employee reception is May the 3rd. Our workshop will be May the 2nd, employee reception May the 3rd, and May the 9th will be our regular board meeting. Did I dream that, or did I see Deckard at one point on that?
We did, but with getting off schedule with this, we decided we would hold off and do that next year.
Okay, so we're still with, the next two are at the central office.
Correct.
Okay. No other business?
Second.
Motion to adjourn second, all in favor?